So obviously now we're talking about the East, something the good that we're seeing and something that is concerning. We'll start with the good stuff. I'm loving my Heat pick. I feel like the Heat pick looks really solid right now. I know that they're versing a play-in team, and this is probably the other side where the play-in teams from the East definitely aren't up to scratch for the matchups in the East. I mean, admittedly, that could change in a couple of games, but the game one beatdown of Atlanta. I know that Atlanta played a couple of games in a row, but there was a defensive scheme to stop Trey. And, that's the key, I think, for Miami is that they're very versatile, but they understand their assignments. So, they would end up versing the 4-5 matchup, which is Dwell and Bede. And Toronto's kind of, trialed the whole physicality thing, but they're undermanned and they don't have the superstar to carry them, even though they came quite close today in the overtime game. So, I'm very confident that the Miami Heat are clicking at the right time. The three-point shooters going off. The Duncan Robertson disappointing pick was not very good when he goes 8 or 9.
He's coming off the bench. They must have listened to my advice. Is that what you're saying?
Well, look, there's definitely a reshuffling in the lineup, but that's also the thing. The Miami Heat are willing to roll with the guys that are going to get the job done, not, stick with players because, hey, this is what worked for us the whole time, or that, if there was a game where, Jimmy Butler was inefficient for some reason or it wasn't working, Spoelstra is the kind of coach that would pull him. He'd just pull him and be like, you need to sit for 10 minutes because this isn't working.
Oh, look, I'm gonna totally agree with you, and I'm actually gonna take it a step further. I think what's good in the East is the top 4 teams are all legit. I think the standings showed this. It was one of the closest, I think, finishes in any conference in a long time. I think it's only a handful of games that rest separated them. Miami sort of really grabbed that top seed only in the last sort of few days of the regular season, and I think the Heat are rolling. The 76ers are rolling, obviously, playing great basketball, and Embiid is obviously there, and everyone's stepping up. It's not just Harden. We've talked about Harden was critical, and he's doing what he's been asked to do. But obviously, the other role players are stepping up too. Celtics, dark horse. All right, and they probably don't feel that, but obviously they still got Robert Williams to come back still, and they're playing great basketball at the moment. And we haven't even talked about the Bucks, okay? And I know they lost, I think, Middleton at the moment to a sprained MCL, I think, at the moment. But they did lose game 2, but everyone would expect them to bounce back. And Giannis has just got to sort of get that bit of motivation now. I've got a loss. I'm not gonna be stopped now. That sort of situation. So I think these top 4 teams, they're going to play each other in the second round. I think that's a 99% probability, and that's going to be a really tough round to pick. Okay, and I think it's going to be some really good basketball in the second round here in the East.
I love all your optimism, and we're gonna take a complete 180 because my negative for the East was actually the Bucks. Obviously today, the result is that they lose. And, unsurprisingly, the Bulls' big 3 don't shoot a combined like 20%. And DeRozan does have a bit of a nuclear game, but the Bucks, were not in it for a good period of time today and made the run, and then obviously couldn't get over the hump. But, game 1 was not convincing. I think that was the other thing. You beat a team by 8 or 10 points with all 3 of their all-star caliber superstars shooting terribly, and you only beat them by 3. Or 5 or whatever it was. And obviously an injury to Middleton, a sprained MCL, whatever it may be. It's hard, to guess with injuries, right? Giannis should have been, clinically dead according to the injury last year, and then he's back in the finals killing it. So, everyone's built a little bit differently, but it'll be interesting to see what happens with that series, right? Because the Bulls took one on the road. That's, I think, the talking point that we're not really focusing on is that they now get to go home for 2 games. And I'm not saying they're going to go up 3-1, but if they split that series again, it's still a 2-2. And, then the Bucks will progress on and end up versing either Boston or Brooklyn, which I don't think is a good matchup for them either. I think that those are 2, I think they're the tougher teams than Miami and Philly are, if we had to tier them. And in terms of their path back to the finals, it looks a little bit more sketchy than it did, previously.